lasagna today, and we start off with a basic Bolognese recipe, and it's sometimes called a ragu sauce. And all I've done is browned off my mince. I've stuck a little bit of chorizo in there, but you could put bacon in. But I've browned it off, and you can see that it doesn't need any fat in the pan. There's enough juice and fat on the minced beef itself to cook it, to fry itself. So once that's browned, and it's gone brown obviously from red, I'm going to stick in chopped onion and my garlic, and you should know how to do those from the other videos I've done, and just dice them, and I'm going to just keep them softened in the pan. Some recipes you see, they fry the mince in oil and fry the onion in oil. You don't need that at all with mince. Even the leanest mince will have a little bit of fat in it, and just keep an eye on it if it's very lean, and just keep stirring it, and that way you're reducing the fat, and you don't get, well, you reduce the risk of getting that layer of orange fat on it when it goes cool, or when you're trying to heat it up the next day, etc. So it's much better to do that. So when that's softened, and I'm going to speed this up a little bit, but the onion, like we've done in previous recipes, it goes less crunchy, and it goes a little bit transparent, okay, a little bit see-through, and it's softened. So imagine I've done that. I will then add my tomato puree. Now, it won't go wrong if you throw it all in together, if you're in a real rush and just cook the whole stuff together. A ragu sauce or a Bolognese sauce is all about just adding the flavour until you like it. The browning of the mince adds a little bit more flavour to the meat, but it's not essential. So if you're in a real rush, bung it in the pan all together and just simmer it. And as long as you've simmered it for about 20 minutes, just to make sure that meat's cooked properly, it'll be fine. And mince, little tiny bits of minced beef, that's what it is, minced meat. So 20 minutes is well on the top side. You're really doing it for flavour. It's not like a big chunk of chicken that you have to make sure that's cooked through. Okay, so you're doing it for flavour and for tenderness. So once that's browned, you're going to add tomato puree, or you can do again. If you haven't got it, I know you've got it in your hamper, but if you haven't got it, if you run out, if you haven't got it in your cupboard, it just adds that depth of tomato flavour. So stir that round, and there's lots of variations. Once you've mastered the basic ragu sauce, you can start to experiment a little bit with the flavour yourself and see what you like to put in it. So the tomato puree goes in, and then your tin of tomatoes. Now basically that is it. It's up to you then what else you put in. So you might put in, I've lost it, yep, so for a bit of extra beefiness, and I like lots of herbs because it's meant to be Italian. Okay, you crumble that in. Because it's meant to be Italian, I put lots of herbs in mine, and salt and pepper, and then you just simmer it, and that is your Bolognese sauce, or a basic ragu sauce. Now if you think it looks a bit dry, just let me put my herbs in. Those are bay leaves, in case you think I'm going mad and picking flowers out of the garden. Bay leaves, I've got a plant out the back, and they're kind of aromatic herb, okay? So you don't need to have that. Those are the fresh herbs going in. I'm trying to cultivate my little herb garden at the back. And I'm also going to put in some dried herbs, which I think you've got in your hamper, but as I say, if you haven't, don't fret about it. Really, it's all about what you like to eat. And instead of putting in a bottle of ragu sauce or ready-made sauce, you've made your own sauce. That's all it is: tomatoes and seasoning. So it saves you money, because tin tomatoes are miles cheaper than a bottle of the ragu. And also you know what's in it, and basically a lot of these ready-made sauces have got lots of salt in and lots of sugar in. It's amazing how much sugar they've got in. So by all means, they're a good reserve to have if you like that stuff, but I think it's too sweet once you've made a proper one and got used to it. And it's important to, when children are growing up, to not have things too sweet, especially in savoury products, because then they don't get used to it. If you want a little bit more sauce, which you're going to simmer this for about 20 minutes. I'm just going to wash the tin out like that, pour it in. Okay, careful of those sharp edges of the tin. And then I'm going to just leave that. I'm going to put the lid on and I'm going to simmer it for about 20 minutes. Now you might see, while I'm reaching for my lid, that I've got some extra bits and bobs. If you've got them in your cupboard, that I sometimes throw in sauces. Just taste it, see whether you like the flavour of it. You might want salt and pepper, which I've already added. I've started putting a teaspoon of Marmite in. I think I've mentioned that before. A teaspoon of Marmite, that adds a bit of depth to it, and it's very savoury. Now, I love it, I hate it. It's not bad in sauces, it's quite nice. I put a splash of Worcester sauce in. You might have seen that on the adverts. Okay. And if you think you need a little bit of sweetness or acidity to the tomatoes, most people have ketchup in the cupboard. And a squirt of ketchup, literally that much, will just help the sauce develop. And it might just help you wean you off packet sauces or jars of sauces if you like that sweet, slightly acidic taste. A bit of ketchup will help, and most people have that, so it's easy to do. So I'm going to let that simmer, and then I'm going to come back, show you a quick all-in-one roux sauce that we've made with macaroni cheese. We did it the long way. We're going to do the all-in-one sauce, and then I'll show you how to assemble it, and then ready to serve. See you later. The ragu sauce has been simmering, and you can see how nice and rich that's got. And don't worry, I will take the bay leaf out. You don't eat that, it just flavours it. Crunchy. And I'm going to be making the bechamel sauce. Now, bechamel sauce is white or cheese. I'm going to do cheese for mine, but you can just put cheese on top if you prefer, or you can leave the cheese out altogether. So for the all-in-one sauce, what I'm going to do is heat a pint of milk up in a pan. Before it's hot, I'm going to put in the flour, 50 grams of flour, 50 grams of butter. Now, the flour is the important bit. As we know from the macaroni cheese, that thickens the milk. But it has to go in while the milk's cold. So tip it all in. Okay. If you haven't got scales for a sauce, it's about, for 50 grams, I would say a heaped tablespoon, so one of those, a dessert or a tablespoon, a heaped one is 25 grams. So 2 of those will do nicely, and similar for butter. Butter's not as important in this, the butter's just the flavour. Now remember what I said on the last video about not ever adding flour to hot liquid. You always add it to cold, so whisk it in, and I can't find my balloon whisk, but this little whisk will do. If you haven't got a whisk, a wooden spoon or will do. It depends what your pan is really. I shouldn't be using metal in this non-stick pan. And the important thing is to make sure that any of the lumps of flour have gone. That's a really important thing. And while it's cold, it will disappear. It's hard to, that's the butter, that's not melted yet. And then I'm going to whack the heat up, okay? And you can tell it's getting hot because the butter will melt. And basically, once that boils, it will thicken and become your roux sauce, your bechamel sauce. Okay, you can see there's a few lumps there. And this is the easy way, quick way. But you can't walk off and leave it. You've got to stay with the bechamel sauce. While it's just heating up, and it will take a few moments, I'm going to put my old favourite, a bit of black pepper and a pinch of salt in. Don't feel like you've got to. If you're trying to cut down on salt, because the cheese is salty, just leave that out. If you want a bit of mustard in, a bit of Worcester sauce, you can do that, or you can just leave it as a plain. This is, at the moment, this is a white sauce, and then I'm going to add grated cheese and turn it into a cheese sauce. So when it thickens, I'll show you what it looks like. We need it to boil, and then flour will thicken the milk. My bechamel sauce, the butter's melted, and everything is nicely incorporated together, so you can't see any lumps of flour, and it's just about to come to a boil. Okay, so I'm stirring or whisking all the time. If you've got a wooden spoon or a spatula, you can use that. And basically, it's thickening, and you can see it's thickening the milk that was in the pan in the beginning. So just let it boil, and I'll show you. So once it bubbles, it's as thick as it's going to get. Nearly ready. And some of you might prefer this method to the roux method, and you can see like the bubbles, and it's thickened, and that's your cheese sauce or your white sauce at the moment. And all I'm going to do is stir in my grated cheese. And you can use ready grated cheese, you can use red, yellow, cheddars. I usually like cheddar the best because it's got the strongest flavour. And I'm not going to put all my cheese in, I'm going to save a little bit for the top. It doesn't need to cook, that cheese, it will just melt in. You can let it cook out a little bit if you want, but because this is going in the oven, I'm not too worried that we'll carry on cooking a bit in the oven. So you've got your components ready. You've got your ragu sauce, your cheese sauce. It looks no different to the bechamel sauce because it's got white cheese in it, but it has got cheese in, trust me. You just see me put it in. I've got my ragu sauce there, and I've got my lasagna sheets. So my lasagna sheets, I'm using white pasta. These are used. The lasagna is just the shape of the pasta. It's not anything. It's not the whole dish really. The whole dish is called lasagna al forno in Italy, but this is a lasagna sheet, and it's just pasta that's been rolled out, cut into squares and dried. Okay, it's just like your pasta, like your spaghetti, your macaroni, your penne. It's just a different shape. While my cameraman is around, let me show you the dish. I'm just using a square dish. I hope it's clean. You can use a tin foil dish. It's absolutely fine. Square is easier because these are rectangular. But if you've got a round dish, you can just snap the corners to fit, and it will go in. It's really important not to overlap the lasagna too much, because if you think about it, when you overlap it, this bit in the middle is the thick bit, and it just doesn't cook very nicely in the oven, and it will be a bit hard and just a bit raw. Hard and tough really. Pardon? Raw. So it will be a bit raw, good word, in the middle. So basically, if you can separate them out and just put a sheet on top of one another, that's going to be fine. My particular lasagna, I do ragu, meat sauce, in other words, pasta, cheese sauce, and repeat it. It's not a precise science. It doesn't matter if you do it any other way. Some recipes put lasagna on the bottom, meat sauce, etc., and just put cheese sauce on the top. It doesn't really matter. So I'm going to show you in a moment how to assemble it my way. It's up to you if you do it another way. See you in a minute. So I've got my ragu, which I'm going to put on the bottom of my dish. Now this is hot, but you can cook it in advance, let it go cold. You can prepare it all as a full dish, and you can stick it in the fridge when it's cooled down, and you can serve it whenever you want it. It's a really good dish lasagna for heating up as well. So I've got a layer of meat, and then I'm going to put a layer of pasta, and you can see that I've snapped the, can you just go down on here? If you look what I'm doing, I'm going to just put the pasta sheets and the very little overlap at all. And some, you can buy lasagna dishes. You can have that. Oh dear, sorry. I'm going to snap that just to fit. Okay. You can buy fresh pasta as well. That cooks really quickly if you've got fresh pasta. Little bit of overlap there, but it shouldn't matter too much. And then basically I'm going to dribble, because this is a milk pan, so it's got a little lip on it to make it easy. I'm going to dribble about half or a third. I'm going to think I might get 3 layers out of my lasagna. Normally I just do 2. It really doesn't matter. I think I saw something on YouTube, and there's 100 layers of lasagna someone had done. I'm not going to do that many. So that's your first layer. Then you just repeat. Ragu. And so, to be honest, it depends how big your dish is. And if your dish is only small, you can do freezer, like small tinfoil dishes, and put them in the freezer. Or if I've got any of this left, I'll just use it as bolognese. And with this particular minced beef or corn or whatever you're putting in here, you can put chilli in it, make it in chilli powder, beans in it. You can make it into lots of different dishes. I'm going to use it all actually. Avoid the bay leaf. Most people, if they see a leaf, wouldn't eat it if you left it in by accident. Okay, so that's the second layer. Then I'm going to do another layer of lasagna, sorry. Okay, like that. Snap the corners to make it fit better. Just got enough, that's lucky. And you can use wholemeal lasagna if you want to. You can't find that very often. And it becomes a bit like a jigsaw here, but that's fine. Oh, she said. Just use it up then. It's fine, okay. And the lasagna needs moisture to cook. Some people cook it first before they do this, but I never bother. These days, lasagna cooks well. As long as it's got the moisture from the ragu and the moisture from the bechamel, it's absolutely fine. So, finish off, use it all up. Okay, I'm going to change to a spatula because I want to get it all out. Look how well that comes out with the spatula. And these are really cheap, you can buy them anywhere. These spatulas are fantastic for savoury and sweet, and look how well that just scoops everything out of the pan, and good for cakes as well. So you smooth it on, cover into the corners, cover all the pasta. Remember what I said about it needing moisture to cook. So if you don't cover the pasta, it'll go crispy, which is fine, but you don't want the whole lot to be crispy. Now I need to get that off. Okay. There we go. And lastly, plus my cheese. I've not got a huge amount of cheese left, but you can actually use, sorry, I'm making a real noise today. My cheese is a bit sticky as well, look at that. You can use red cheese, looks nice. You can actually use skimpy. In a minute I'm going to grate a bit more cheese, but you can put breadcrumbs on as well. That's nice, it makes it dead crunchy and nice. And that's going to go in my oven at about 180, 200 for about 20 minutes, half an hour, and the pasta's going to be cooked through. I'm just going to check it's soft. If it's fresh pasta, it cooks a lot quicker, and you can pick that up really easily in the supermarkets. Dry pasta takes a little bit longer, so probably 30 minutes. Okay, see you in a minute. So the lasagna's been in the oven for about 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes. And I've tested it's ready by sticking my knife in, and you can tell that the pasta's pretty soft. If you're not sure, leave it in for another 5 or 10 minutes, but it should be pretty well cut through. And then you can cut it into however many bits you want, portions, spoonfuls, and anything you don't want, you can freeze. It's quite easy to freeze. Stick it in a plastic tub or a tinfoil container, and it'll stay there for quite a while until you do want to heat it up. So I hope you enjoy that. I serve it with a green salad, whatever you fancy really. I don't need to tell you what to eat lasagna with, but I hope you enjoy it. See you next time. Bye.